What made you not want to have kids? The idea of being pregnant and physically giving birth scares me. The side effects: nausea, vomiting, mood swings, swollen feet, etc. Plus I'm someone who needs to be in control in labor. Is it something that can be controlled? Being able to visibly see my stomach stretching out and getting bigger with each passing day? No thank you. I value my sleep and my sanity. I take medicine for mental health issues. I'd give it would even be safe for me to stop taking these meds during pregnancy. Not going to chance it. I felt the only suitable upbringing for a kiddo would need to be similar to the one I experienced with a stay-at-home mom. But I knew I'd never be happy at home, and I was super career-driven in my late 20s, early 30s. By mid-30s, I realized that my soon-to-be ex-husband isn't somebody that I'd want to have kids with. So now I'm 40, no kids, and almost ex-husband, and no kiddos. While this gives me tons of flexibility and disposable income, I have some regrets. Dysphoria and postpartum psychosis. I'm a transmasculine individual and I already get dysphoric about my menstrual cycle. Postpartum psychosis is something I do not want to go through ever. I already have to deal with regular psychosis, why would I want to deal with pregnancy psychosis? Also, the world is fucked. I'd rather not bring a child into this world. Not till shit either gets better or a bigger problem cancels the last few out. I'm not against having children, but not wanting them due to the freedom I have. I'm able to leave for a weekend trip on a whim, go out with family and friends on a Friday and lay around all day Saturday, not having to worry if I work late, fill in for beer league sports whenever I want, hop on a plane, and the only thing I have to worry about is if I brought my phone's charger. I have to worry about myself and not a mini-me who's dependent on me. Have you ever looked at some decor in someone else's home and admired it for how beautiful it is, but you don't even think about how it would look like in your own house because it's just not something that you would own? Not that the decor is ugly or bad or expensive, not even that it's just not your style, but just because you would never even think of it having any reason to exist inside of your house? That's me and kids. 1. I don't want to be pregnant and destroy my body. 2. I don't have a job. I cannot provide everything what they would need. 3. I have some genetic conditions that I wouldn't like my kids to deal with. An extremely anxious person, I would be an overprotective mom and I don't want to be that. 5. I think I'm not ready to be a mom. I haven't enjoyed my 20s as I would like to, so I want to do it the rest of my 20s and all my 30s and 40s, haha. For me, the reason I think comes down to being forced to raise my siblings as a child myself. I believe that experience took the joy of my own children right of motherhood for me. Oh, and it didn't end at childhood. My mom had a baby when I was 21 years old and it started all again. I'm good on motherhood. The only positive thing is I'm super close to my siblings and the youngest is like my son, and that's enough for me. Having to babysit my nieces and nephew and feeling like I couldn't do anything I wanted to do until they left. Other people brat loudly, randomly screaming in stores. Not wanting to spend my money on someone who can pay me back. Didn't want to deal with a crying baby, a bratty toddler, an annoying kid, a selfish, rude teenager, a lazy-ass young adult who probably wouldn't get out of my house. That's show killer kids. When I realized how much everyone loves having babies, but when the novelty wears off after a couple of years they all of a sudden hate having kids. All of these jokes about kids draining money and talking too much and blah blah blah. So much projection and obvious regret. I think it's better to have regret not having kids than to regret having kids, but that's just me. Being parentified as a teenager when my little sister was born. Not only did I watch her way too often, but I was also in high demand as a babysitter since I had experience. I hated every minute of it. I mean, I liked the kids, and I loved my little sister, but I hated taking care of kids. I never wanted them, and I realized I didn't have to have them. There is a 13-year gap between me and my little brother. I witnessed firsthand how difficult it is raising a kid, and I knew that wasn't it for me. I like my little sleep-ins and peaceful evenings watching horror movies with my fiancé. We have a lovely cat and I am very content with that. Kudos to anyone strong enough to have kids, but I am not one of them. My own preference of rather not being born if I had the choice. I don't blame my parents and I don't want to die, but I don't feel the struggle of life is worth it. The thing of having a consciousness is just bothersome. Of course I'm not in a place to decide any of that, but I feel like I'd save my future kids from this world. 1. Mental health sucks on both sides of the family, and mine is terrible. 2. I'm not maternal. 3. I never really got to live my own life thanks to family issues, death, illnesses, taking care of someone with special needs, and it's selfish, but I don't want to give up more of what life I have to left to raise someone. In biological sense my genes probably suck. In a purely parenting sense I know that I would suck as a parent. I have almost no emotional regulation. And also I often think of dying. I know from experience that it is very difficult to grow up with a parent that lives only to support you. I do not wish that on anyone. Islam. It's toxic. I hate the fact that adoption isn't allowed here and you can marry the one you love and feel safe enough to have kids with who won't grow up with religious trauma. Especially as a female. Plus it's allowed for men to marry more than one woman and abuse if they disobey. It's very easy to run into one. I knew even as a kid that I didn't want kids. My friends would all be talking about the future like teens do and they were all when I have babies la 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 and I was very much like, no thanks. There was never really a thought process for me beyond nope. 44 now and never once regretted my choice. I had to take care of my little brother when he was born and he just ended up being distant from me. And being told all the time I'm gonna have kids and should have kids. I do kinda wanna adopt a little girl but that's a maybe. Also I don't wanna lose pussy from having a whole baby. The overwhelming desire a meth addiction causes. I don't wanna be sober and then when they are like 5 relapse and become a bad dad because of it. Or make a child be around go through something like that. I want kids. But recognize the potential damage I could cause my offspring. I am a man of faith and I never wanted kids. A favorite saying of mine is if you want to make God laugh, tell him how your life is going to go. My wife and I got pregnant at 19-20. Here I am almost 34 with both my beautiful babies and I couldn't imagine life without them. I just have never had the instinct. Female, 45. Had never wanted kids since I was a kid. It's a good thing, too. I would have been a terrible mother and would have continued the generational trauma. I figure I was made without the instinct for a reason. Growing up, my mom made a big deal about the burden us children were to her. I grew up feeling like a vexatious failure and unqualified to raise children. Don't despair though, I raise animals instead and we live harmoniously far away from my mother. I had a child born with Duchenne muscular dystrophy. I felt incredibly guilty for bringing such a lovely child into this world with so much difficulty he faced. After he passed away, I never wanted to bring another child into this cruel world. Every parent I've seen says at some point they regret having kids. I see posts all across the internet of annons saying how they regret having kids and they can't undo it. I've never seen a single child-free person say they regret not having kids. My close friend was sitting with me in the hospital when the doctor came in with a terminal diagnosis for my 14-month-old daughter. Same friend told me years later that moment was the reason she and her husband decided not to have children. Me and my partner at the time had a couple miscarriages. Just normal ones. Not something caused by someone else. I handled things worse than her and I just decided after we went our separate ways that I was just not cut out for it. I've seen firsthand how having a mentally ill child tear apart a family. I don't think I could handle having a mentally disabled kid and after seeing what it did to my family growing up, I don't want to risk it. Not ideal financially, not having much of a childhood myself, working too much, too many issues involved with the way the world is going, parenting, my own health problems and my body couldn't handle pregnancy. Childbirth looks horrendous. Same with pregnancy. Also I don't want to worry over my offspring for the rest of my life. Life's already pretty stressful. I want my adulthood to be pleasant, not a big chore. Passing down any all of my health problems, the state of the world, not being to devote my time and energy to animals, growing up parentified, etc. I'm thankful for my sterilization. Realizing how vulnerable pregnancy makes you. Your partner has to support an unbelievable amount and be endlessly understanding for you to be taken care of in the way you need. I once had a man plant his seed in me by force when I was 13. While I was able to get it terminated by my own force, I have been terrified of ever having children at all ever since. I don't enjoy being around them for extended periods, as I find them noisy and exhausting after a while. Was true when I was a kid myself and it remains true into my mid-40s. I'm way too selfish, but I'm also a good person, so having a child would make me stop being selfish, completely changing who I am as a person, and I won't do that voluntarily. Getting a puppy. A dog is probably in the work of having a kid and that's already more than enough for me. Plus the sound of kids screaming gives me anxiety attacks. My mom. When I was born, she said she hated me. When I was a kid, she said she hated me. I never knew if she actually loved me. I never wanted a kid to feel like that. My cat recently was rushed to emergency care and may need surgery. This is stressful enough with a cat. I couldn't imagine ever needing to do this for a kid. Too much being poor and a middle child. I got no love, new clothes, allowance, or even a decent bed. I have a good paying job and nice things. I'm not giving that up for a kid. My first marriage, my wife and I had too many of the same issues on both sides of the family. For us, the best way to show our kids love was not to have any. My mental health. I'm mid-30s and it's looking likely that I will run out of time before I would be well enough. I'm not doing to kids what was done to me. Part of it is how fucking annoying they can get. The other half is that the world is slowly burning itself down, and I don't want my kids to go through it. Introverted and need a lot of solitude to recharge. I think I'd have a mental break if I couldn't have a few hours of alone time and quiet every day. I wouldn't want to pass on my mental illness to a child. I think I'd be a good parent about 30 of the time. Thankfully my husband feels the same. Well, my personal experience with life has been mostly negative, so it would be rude to introduce someone into it beyond their ability to will it. I didn't want my bloodline to continue. I saw how awful my parents were and how I was raised, and I didn't want to do that to another person. Messed up DNA, rare genetic condition. It's been enough of a hell for me. I wasn't going to take the 50-50 chance of giving it to a kid, knowing that having children is a permanent decision, and I'm stuck with them for the rest of my life even at my lowest points. Parental vacation at an early age. I raised my sister from an infant and myself being the age of 9. Not doing that shit again. They're a lot of work. Pregnancy is really scary. They're expensive and this world is too messed up to bring up kids in. I honestly never had the urge. Don't dislike them. I just honestly at this point don't want to be bothered as well.